Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Erik Voss, and this is a breakdown of the new trailer for Star Wars Ahsoka, coming to Disney Plus on August 23rd with a 2-episode premiere with Rosario Dawson as the RXJedi, originally from Clone Wars and Rebels animated series, now in live action from The Mandalorian and its spin-offs. Whether that sounds like a lot of homework to you, or if you want everyone to love Lothcats as much as you do, I got you covered with a frame-by-frame breakdown of this trailer and what to know headed into this series. A reminder that New Rockstars is now 3 channels. This main channel for Easter egg breakdowns, the deep dive for special film analysis, and the break room, where you will find our Ahsoka after show Wookiee leaks from here on out. Subscribe to all 3 of these channels and support our network with a shirt from nerdriot.shop. Let's get started.
War is inevitable. One must destroy in order to create. We are no Jedi.
Before we get into this, a quick recap. Ahsoka Tano is the former Jedi apprentice to Anakin Skywalker, introduced in Clone Wars, when she was then voiced by Ashley Eckstein. Ahsoka left the Jedi Order after being framed for a bombing of the Jedi Temple. She returned later in the Star Wars timeline during the events of Rebels and briefly teamed up with the crew of the Ghost, which included the pilot Hera Syndulla, the Mandalorian ex-Imperial weapons expert Sabine Wren, fugitive Jedi Kanan Jarrus, his apprentice Ezra Bridger, Zeb, and the astromech droid Chopper. At the end of the series, Ezra vanished along with the villain Grand Admiral Thrawn due to some Purgle hyperspace whales. And the series ends with Ahsoka and Sabine teaming up to look for Ezra. Now, Ahsoka showed up in live action in season 2 of The Mandalorian, now played by Rosario Dawson, dueling Morgan Elsbeth and seeking Grand Admiral Thrawn. Ahsoka also showed up again in the Book of Boba Fett, chatting with Luke Skywalker when he trained Grogu. This show is essentially a live action season of Rebels. Mary Elizabeth Winstead is now playing Hera Syndulla, Natasha Liu Bordizzo is Sabine Wren, Iman Esfandi is Ezra Bridger, Lars Mikkelsen returns as Grand Admiral Thrawn after voicing the character in Rebels, Steve Bloom returned as the live-action Zeb in The Mandalorian last season, presumably he's going to be in the show too, and Chopper, likely played by the same droid Demon as before because he's a total monster. This trailer opens with an Eta-class shuttle approaching a New Republic cruiser. This type of Eta-class shuttle was used in the Clone Wars by Jedi ambassadors, telling us that its occupants, Baylan and Shin, are using it deceptively. And the framing here makes it look like this Eta-class shuttle is pincering the New Republic craft it's about to board. Baylan Skoll is a former Jedi who survived Order 66. An incident every live-action Star Wars season keeps revisiting to re-traumatize us. Now, Ahsoka is set around the same time as The Mandalorian Season 3, so Order 66 would have been about 3 decades prior to this, and given Baylan's age, he would not have been a youngling like Grogu or Reva were the kids that Anakin ran into. Master Anakin! You remember that poor kid? But rather, he would have been an adult, Anakin's age, who likely just wasn't around the temple during the Purge. But Baylan since then has turned into a mercenary, played by Ray Stevenson. Ray Stevenson sadly passed away this past May, and he looks so good in the show. It's just a shame that he's not going to be around for all the fan attention he's going to get for it. Baylan Skoll has taken on an apprentice, Shin Hati, played by Ivana Sakno. In Norse mythology, Skoll is the name of the wolf that chases the sun around the sky, whereas the wolf Hati chases the moon, so I think the naming there was intentional. And later, when Shin assaults the bridge of this New Republic ship, we see that she has a Jedi Padawan braid, and they use not red, but orange lightsabers. And Dave Filoni explained to Screen Rant that this was intentional.
That was very intentional. I didn't make them like just a stark red. I remember as a kid that Vader's lightsaber kind of fluctuated from visual effects to visual effects being a little bit more orange. I didn't want it to go like straight up orange, but it's identifying a little bit of something maybe to kids that they might not straight up be what you think they are in the beginning.
Meanwhile, these New Republic soldiers wear these same blue uniforms and domed white helmets that we've seen officers wear in The Mandalorian. Behind them in the hangar are parked T-70 X-Wings from the New Republic era, and it looks like an A-Wing, and all these are painted with blue. The Rebel Alliance Blue Squadron was previously decommissioned after the Battle of Scarif in Rogue One, but recently in Season 3 of The Mandalorian, Zeb cameoed wearing a blue flight suit, and in later trailer footage for the show, there has been a Mon Calamari pilot in blue standing beside Hera Syndulla. Since the Ghost appeared in the Battle of Scarif in Rogue One, presumably Hera and Zeb were there for that battle, and the Blue Squadron could live on through them. Baylan stabs this officer with his lightsaber, saying, "We're no Jedi," echoing Ahsoka's dramatic line for Rebels and her epic duel with Vader.
I am no Jedi.
Now, at that time, it was meant to show Ahsoka's divergence from the Jedi Order, but for Baylan, I think it's a sign that he and Ahsoka may be on a similarly rogue path, just at this moment interpreting it from different certain points of view. Let's move on.
I started hearing whispers of Thrawn's return as heir to the Empire.
What happens when we find Thrawn?
Power, such as you've never dreamed.
So we see Ahsoka in some ruins with an engraving of this hooded female figure holding an orb. Could this be the daughter of Mortis, the deity from the realm of Mortis in the Clone Wars arc, who most identified with Ahsoka in particular, part of basically the holy trinity of the Star Wars universe, the father, the son, and the daughter. Now the issue with this is normally the daughter is not hooded, you would never cover up that do, so this could be some other figure, maybe some ancient Jedi, someone we might meet in the Acolyte. But this figure is positioned along a coordinate line. In fact, her midsection with the orb looks like it's on a separate layer that looks like it might rotate and lock into place like a Rubik's Cube puzzle. A puzzle that might actually require this orb to be plugged in for it all to align. It seems like in this show, Ahsoka might be in a race with Baylan and Shin, who I think are working for Thrawn and Morgan Elsbeth, to ruins like this to uncover an ancient star map. A star map pointing to where? Well, I've speculated Biss, which in Legends is the true center of the galaxy in Palpatine's throne world, not that far from Tython, the planet that Grogu communicate with Luke Skywalker from in The Mandalorian Season 2. But if not that, many are theorizing that this may be pointing to a portal to the world between worlds. That's from Rebels Season 1. It's a mystical realm allowing a kind of time travel that allowed Ezra to pull Ahsoka from her duel with the Darth Vader. It's crazy, and Dave Filoni has described it as an echo of historical events. There's just still a lot of unknowns and questions about what exactly the world between worlds is, and many are hoping that this Ahsoka series might dig into it. We see Baylan and Shin's shuttle in front of these other ruins on a cliffside, showing a Stonehenge-esque configuration on a circular base that's been divided into 8 wedges. We actually later see Ahsoka dueling Baylan in this setting as it projects a star map in a hologram. Behind their ship in the corners, there are some red leaves. This is likely the same planet that has trees with red leaves that we see in other shots, but the broken shards of these ruins make me wonder if these stones connected at the top in arches that stretched across the base at some point. Was this map structure destroyed to keep something hidden? Baylan says that once they find Thrawn, they'll gain
Power. Such as you've never dreamed.
Could that power be something from the world between worlds? Like maybe a chance to go back in time and disrupt the events of Order 66 and prevent so much pain and suffering? We see Morgan activating the holomap from the pedestal in the center of this place, illuminating lines with nodes on the inside of these stone columns, and her hand hovers over a mini galaxy with a green flame beneath. Maybe a nod to the Night Sister magic from Dathomir, like the green energy Mother Talzin used to heal Maul. Dave Filoni recanonized the Witches of Dathomir from that line from Danny Trejo in the Book of Boba Fett, and Morgan Elsbeth may be one of those Witches of Dathomir. These ruins are one of 2 sets of ruins we're seeing in trailer footage, like these dark ones on the cliffside and the lighter ones set in the black volcanic sands that Ahsoka explores with the giant statues seen more in the previous trailer. Could these 2 sets of ruins be linked, like a Jedi ruins versus a Sith ruins? Or could this be linked to the Mortis? One for the daughter, one for the son, both needed to triangulate the path to the father? Let's move on.
I've spent most of my life fighting a war. That's why I'm trying to convince you to help me prevent another one.
You and I both know who could help you with this.
She's still just as stubborn as ever.
Okay, we see some of the New Republic fleet. Large, round-hulled Mon Calamari cruisers and CR-90 corvettes. Those are the one with the 11 back thrusters like the Tantive 4 had. We also see some ram-headed, hammerhead corvettes like we saw in Rogue One. And we see a shot of Hera Syndulla piloting the Phantom II. This is a Sheathipede class transport that replaced the original auxiliary starfighter, the Phantom. And we see on the back of Hera's jacket is the Ghost Crew logo. And we see Chopper helping her chase down this other transport vessel that's towing a piece of machinery. They're over this industrial setting surrounded by water, which I'm pretty sure is the same exact scrapyard location where Ahsoka duels the Inquisitor later. Looks like they're part of the same mission. Now, longtime New Rockstars viewers know how much we use Geologie and how long we've been using it for, but if this is your first time hearing about Geologie, get ready for blockbuster quality skincare on a student film budget. Geologie is a 23-time award-winning skin, hair, and body care company recognized in Men's Health, Oprah Daily, Hypebeast, Birdie, Esquire, and GQ. Geologie's products are just a handful of powerful, proven ingredients that have been trusted by dermatologists for decades. Geologie can help you fight acne, reduce oiliness, prevent wrinkles, combat dark or puffy under eyes, have smoother, hydrated skin, and target signs of aging. Everything you need to keep your skin healthy, no matter how much you soak in the pool this summer. Don't know where to start? Geologie can create a simple and effective skincare or hair care routine for you. All you gotta do is take a quick 30-second quiz. Right now, if you use the code NewRockstars100, Geologie will give you 100% off their award-winning skincare trial set. You'll also get an additional bonus offer of up to 30% off one skin, hair, or body products when you add it to your trial. It's truly a wild offer, one of the best they've ever given our audience. So click the link in the description or go to geolog.ie/rockstars100 to get started. Hera says the line, "I spent most of my life fighting a war. That's why I'm trying to convince you to help me prevent another one." She's pleading with a group of New Republic senators, including Mon Mothma, Genevieve O'Reilly, returning from originally playing the character in that deleted scene from Revenge of the Sith. She also played the character in Rogue One, and most recently in Andor. Now, she's back in that senatorial era haircut. At her side is Senator Hamada Ziono, the senator from Hosnian Prime, father to Kazuda Ziono, both characters from Star Wars Resistance. This conference is actually taking place in the same exact kind of amphitheater war council room that we saw in Return of the Jedi when Mon Mothma gave her speech about the Bothans. Ahsoka greets Hera in the hangar, followed by the droid Huyang, as Hera suggests Ahsoka reconnect with Sabine, who now has let her hair grow out. We see Ahsoka's T6 shuttle departing the same Lothal communication tower where we last saw these two at the end of Rebels, and more on them in the next section.
I bet your master found you difficult at times.
Anakin never got to finish my training. I walked away from him, just like I walked away from Sabine.
You never made things easy for me, Master.
Sabine charges down one of those roads on Lothal that we saw throughout Rebels on a speeder bike, and she's pursued by an E-Wing. And it's so cool to see one of these in canon, because previously these only showed up in Legends literature. First introduced in the Dark Empire comic, they're known as escort shuttles that were introduced during Thrawn's campaign to rebuild the fallen empire. On Sabine's helmet is a drawing of a Loth cat and the Aurebesh letters Besh, Nth, and Besh. Nth is an interesting one. It's not commonly seen in these shows because it's an Aurebesh vowel of A plus E. So really this spells out babe, because Sabine is a proud smoke show. Hera tells Ahsoka, "I bet your master found you difficult at times." Ahsoka responds, "Anakin never got to finish my training. I walked away from him, just like I walked away from Sabine." And Sabine says, "You never made things easy for me, master." And a lot to unpack here. First, Ahsoka is acknowledging that she left Anakin and might carry some guilt over that, and that her training, which we saw a piece of in an amazing Tales of the Jedi Season 1 episode, that training was really incomplete and had to teach herself over the years. But also, it sounds like after the events of the Rebels finale, Ahsoka spent some time training Sabine. I don't think the implication is that Sabine Wren is force sensitive, because not everyone can be force sensitive, folks. But rather, I just think that Ahsoka trained her in lightsaber combat, similar to how Kanan trained Sabine with the darksaber. And it looks like there will be one scene where Ahsoka initially reunites with Sabine on that same tower, where Sabine refuses a call, followed by a later scene after Sabine has cut her hair, where she gets back in the action. We briefly see Sabine joining Ahsoka on the ship, where a holo display shows the first ruins that I talked about, with the large statues that Ahsoka explores at the top of the first teaser. It looks like there are actually 3 statues taller than the rest, the top half's broken off. Could these be for the father, the son, and the daughter? We see the E-Wing flying ahead of Sabine, parking on the road to cut her off, but Sabine skids beneath it, to the surprise of this interesting astromech, who releases some sparks of confusion. Maybe he's reading babe on her helmet and going, whoa, 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 agreed! But this droid is based on the vintage R2-D2 toy from Kenner, with the teardrop indents with the red and the blue eyepieces. I love this detail. All right, next clip.
As a Jedi, sometimes you have to make the decision no one else can. But I'm counting on you to see this through.
Nice haircut.
Okay, the trailer slows down for a beat with these somber strings as Sabine watches what I assume is a recording of Ezra Bridger, or maybe she actually found the guy and he prefers to stay long distance. In her room, we see doodles of a Loth wolf and a Loth cat. There's also a drawing of a Stormtrooper helmet with a red Ghostbusters line through it. And then in this profile shot, we see her kneeling in front of her Mandalorian helmet, and she cuts her hair, reminding us of Kanan Jarrus, how he cut his hair in Rebels as he prepared for a rescue mission. Behind her in the back of the room is a Scout Trooper helmet, which could have actually belonged to Ezra Bridger, maybe one of the ones that they wore when they infiltrated the Lothal Temple before Ezra crossed into the world between worlds. And then there's almost an exact recreation of the Rebels finale scene with Ahsoka and Sabine, now with her hair short again, in front of that mural of the Ghost crew, looking exactly like it did in Rebels, with the same exact 2D art that we saw in that scene. So I assume this might actually be the final scene of episode 1 of the show, but there is a key difference. Before, Ahsoka wore a light cloak, but now it's a darker gray one. Dave Filoni has indicated before that he sees Ahsoka as kind of a Gandalf figure, and he ended Rebels with her in lighter clothes to indicate her return to a more heroic path. But seeing her in darker robes here is really a reversal of the Gandalf the Grey to Gandalf the White transition. Ahsoka is back in the shadows, which isn't a bad thing, because I think that could mean she teams up with other morally compromised figures like Baylan. But Shin, the apprentice, might be too far gone, a proxy of what would have happened to Ahsoka if she followed Anakin off the deep end. Moving on.
Sometimes we have to do what's right, regardless of our personal feelings.
Buckle up.
If we don't stop Thrawn, everything will be in vain.
In this scrapyard where Imperial Star Destroyers are being dismantled, Ahsoka's fighting an HK-47 assassin droid and an Inquisitor. They have the same rotating handle lightsaber Inquisitors normally carry. Now in the past, I wondered if this might be the 8th brother, who only really fell in Rebels, but no skilled jumper would die from falling like that. However, that 8th brother had different feet, and this Inquisitor wears humanoid boots. Also, they have a more slender build. I think this might be a female. And it's interesting because Ahsoka has some connection to this Inquisitor, someone from her past, because we see Ahsoka dueling an Inquisitor by the Darker Ruins as well at the end of the trailer. I'm wondering if this could be Barrick Offee, the Jedi apprentice to Luminara Unduli, who really staged those bombings of the temple that Ahsoka was initially blamed for. It could have been Barrick Offee as an Inquisitor that allowed the Grand Inquisitor to capture Luminara Unduli in that Rebels episode. I'm pretty sure we have not seen the last of Barrick Offee in Star Wars fiction, and if she's gonna come back, it's gonna be in this show, considering her connection to Ahsoka. Okay, the next shot. The T6 approaches a massive Purrgil whale, and she and Sabine soar through the tendrils as they're fired on by someone else, maybe Shin. We saw these Purrgil from a distance from Grogu's eyes as he and Din Djarin flew through hyperspace in the Mandalorian Season 3 premiere, but up close like this, they are way larger than they were in Rebels. Could this be the Alpha Purrgil, or the ones that took Ezra and Thrawn just babies? Speaking of Thrawn, we finally get our first official look at Lars Mikkelsen since Star Wars Celebration last year. Grand Admiral Thrawn, red chiss eyes and dark blue skin. Now, if you want to know more about Thrawn, I broke down his full history, both his publication history and his new canonical history. He's brilliant, he's murderous, not a good guy, not someone we should admire, but he's still exactly the villain Star Wars has so desperately needed, and I'm so excited for him. All right, moving on.
You have no power.
Anakin spoke highly of you.
I'm not here to discuss my past.
Okay, Shin and Sabine duel on this planet with the Dark Ruins based off of the trees in the background. Shin has her orange blade. Sabine uses Ezra Bridger's old lightsaber with its green blade. But many believe that Shin might be using Kanan Jarrus's old lightsaber, which would need to be recovered from when it fell off the Imperial Dome on Lothal right before his death. But we know from the Obi-Wan Kenobi series that Inquisitors keep recovered Jedi lightsabers as trophies in the Fortress Inquisitorius on Nur. So maybe the reason the Kyber crystal only produces an orange color is that some essence of Kanan Jarrus could live on inside of it, and is destined to get back to Hera Syndulla and her and Kanan's son, Jason. Baylan taunts Ahsoka by telling her that Anakin spoke highly of her, telling us that the two Jedi knew each other. So during the Clone Wars years, there were probably several trials and adventures and team-ups that we never saw that Anakin might have had. Hayden Christensen is going to return in the series. I'm wondering if it's going to be a flashback with Baylan as the two former Jedi compare notes on their apprentices. Then we see Ahsoka running after her T6 as the ruins we saw her in the last trailer now explode behind her. Were they bombed? Was it a trap? No, I don't think this was an artificial explosion, because look at those debris smoke trails and the black volcanic sand Ahsoka is running across. I think these ruins were built into a dormant volcano that's now erupting. Okay, on to the last clip.
We have a lot of work to do.
Once a rebel, always a rebel.
All right, we hear the voice of Hu Yang, the same droid from the Jedi ship The Crucible, who's tasked with teaching young Jedi. He's voiced by David Tennant in the series, which has gotta be a nod to his role as Doctor Who, because now he's Professor Who, different spelling. Then a really weird shot, the Ada-class shuttle is firing both on Ahsoka and the Inquisitor she was fighting in this scrapyard. It's hard to tell, the shuttle could be firing behind the Inquisitor and only at Ahsoka, but it looks like both are in the blast range, and they're both running toward the shuttle, which is also weird. But the final shot, Ahsoka's duel with that Inquisitor as she patiently waits for the helicopter twirl and then lunges forward to jam the propeller with his powerful thrust. This downward ankle position is also Ahsoka's pose in the official poster for the series, and it was one of Anakin's favorite positions, and I don't think that's a coincidence. I'm so excited for this series. We will be breaking down each episode starting August 23rd here on the New Rockstars main channel with our Wookiee Leaks reactions on the Break Room channel. Subscribe to all 3 channels in our network and support us by grabbing some merch at nerdriot.shop. Follow me on all social media at EA Voss. Follow New Rockstars and subscribe to New Rockstars for more analysis of everything you love. Thanks for watching. Bye.